So what I like to do is really break the writing process down so that it becomes really an idea process that can be used for papers and it can be used for presentations. Okay? The first step of the writing process is really the idea step. And that is brainstorm. So take time to, number one, understand what the assignment is. Because some people don't do that. And then the professor writes on it, you wrote a really great paper, but this wasn't the assignment. So you really want to take a look at the assignment and what is actually being assigned to you, what's being asked of you. And then brainstorm your ideas. And it might be lots of ideas, and then you consolidate it into one idea. Okay? So brainstorm your ideas, and then go with the topic. Now, brainstorming might be that you go to the Writing Center and you just talk your ideas out. Maybe you just get it out of your head. Too many people sit around and think about their papers without writing the ideas down or without talking them out. You have to get them out of your head. So take a 3x5 cards, pack of 3x5 cards, and really brainstorm those. Or go to the Writing Center and just talk out what you think. Or go to the professor and talk to the professor about what the paper is and what you were thinking, your ideas, your interests, how you want to improve, right? So that's the first step, brainstorming. Get those ideas out, okay? The next step is the organization step. Now, if it's a pretty big research paper, after you pick a topic and see the professor and talk to him or her, you may have to go out and do a lot of research. And you may need to keep checking in with the professor. Remember, your professor is the audience, and your professor is the expert in the field. So you want to keep checking in with him or her to try to figure out whether you're on the right track, whether you're really going in the right direction. And then you create some organization, and you can create a hierarchical type of outline, right? Like A, 1, 2, 3, 4, B, or whatever. Okay, that's hierarchical. Or, some of you, how many of you are really visual learners? A couple of you? Maybe you mind map it out. Anybody ever do a mind map? Mind maps kind of give me seasickness, so I'm not real good at them. But there's a software package called Inspiration that can help you to go back and forth between the two. So organization is really important. Even if you get down, these are the 3 points that I want to make. This is the story I want to tell with the 3 ways that I'm gonna tell it. Whatever it is, the organization needs to reflect the assignment again. Okay? Now, once you have a basic organization, how many of you dive into writing it? Yeah. Throw that away. And next step is expand your outline. Before you dive into the language piece, expand it. Put down examples. Put down the quotes that you want to use. Right? Put down the terminology that you want to use in each section. So you're expanding this outline. Expand, expand, expand. So that for a 10-page paper, you may have a 5 or 6 page outline. The more time you put in up front with these 2 steps, brainstorm, organize, expand, so basically 3 steps, okay? The easier it is to do the 4th step, which is the language piece, okay? Here again, before you start the language piece, maybe you check in with your prof again, with your organization and your quotes and the books that you're using and the supporting documents that you're using. Why not? And along the way, you can also be talking things out with the Writing Center. Okay? So that by the time you get to the language piece, you're just going to fill in language in your ideas. You're just going to attach your ideas together. You might even write phrases here. Okay? So the language piece isn't very daunting then, because you've put so much of this in here. Now with a language piece, You can type it. If it's a presentation, you can speak it, right? You may need to build in visuals and PowerPoint and video and everything else. You may maybe learn voice recognition software, maybe Naturally Speaking, and speak into the computer and it types what you say.
Yeah, so you can do both at the same time.
You can do both.
Type.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Naturally Speaking right now is the best, but I think Apple has a voice recognition.
It's Mac Speech Dictate.
Mac Speech Dictate.
But it's like, it's powered by Dragon, so it's like...
Oh, so it's probably pretty good then.
Yeah, it's like, it's the same thing basically, except it's for Mac.
The other thing you can do, if you get a little anxious about writing your papers, you can expand your outline, create this big outline, and then take a tape recorder to a friend or the writing center or make an appointment with me and see it as a lecture and just go in and talk to somebody about it. And as you're taping it on the tape recorder, if your outline is really expanded, then you're basically your own secretary. You go back, you listen to the tape recorder, and you just type it out. So it's really getting away from people who sit down with an empty computer screen and say, ready, go. That's the most anxiety-filled thing you can do. But a lot of people jump right to the language piece. Or they jump into the organization piece and they have basically this little bit of an outline that doesn't even really say much, and then they expect that to be the roadmap for the language. Create your roadmap, then do your language piece. Okay? That's what's really important. And then, way down here at the bottom is edit. What a lot of people do to get stuck in their writing process is they let the editing piece get in the way of everything else. Okay? So they open up their screen and they start to write. And they write a sentence. They write their topic sentence. That's not the word I want to use. Maybe this is the word. Maybe that, yeah, and, right? So all of a sudden, an hour later, they have a great paragraph. Well, you can't spend an hour for every paragraph. You're letting your editing process get in the way of this process. Okay? So what I really suggest is that if you work on the brainstorming, the organization, and the expanding, then you can get the language out possibly without feeling so connected to perfection, without being so focused on every sentence I write has to be perfect before I move on to the next sentence. Okay? So this is a way of doing it. And if this really gets in your way, then what I suggest is really talking your brainstorming, talking your organization, write out an expanded outline, and then talk out your language. What I find is that people don't edit their oral expression as quickly as they edit their written expression. Okay? And so if this gets in the way, then I would say really talk it out. Either using voice recognition software or talk it into a tape recorder with a friend, like you're giving her a lecture on it, and then just type it out, fight the urge to edit, type it out, and then set a very specific amount of time that you are allowed to edit your paper. Okay? Because people could be editing it for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Okay? You are here at college to learn how to write better, not to write perfect. Okay? You're never going to write perfect. I look back on my dissertation and I look at it and I go, right now, I go, wow, these sentences sound just a little basic. But back then, I was writing it, it sounded great, right? So you will keep improving your writing throughout your lifespan, okay? And so, instead of thinking perfection, think improvement. That's all you want to be doing here, just improve a little bit, okay? But a lot of people get stuck on the perfectionism. And I think perfectionism a lot of times gets really heightened by this editing process. So go through these steps first, then